What? You want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
And wow, it did it to me again. There we go. Yep, it is showtime, and it's starting me out there on the very tiny screen here. So welcome to another episode from the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. I'm your host, Joe D. McPhee here. And tonight's going to be a fun night because why? It's an Ask Joe episode. So pretty much you guys can ask me just about anything and everything here. I'm pretty much going to try to ask everything. I want to say hello to our friend Aaron, the Psychotronic Squirt Gun. He's in the house already enjoying the episode. And hopefully everybody's having a good weekend. I know I could be having a little bit better of a weekend, but it was good nonetheless. For those who saw my Facebook post / Instagram video, you know, like I said, it's going to be an Ask Joe episode. Was in my storage today. Got some things taken care of as far as getting books and stuff in order. Still haven't gotten the collection in order as far as things that I'm willing to sell as of yet. But things that came out of today is that I found my full run of things like Team Youngblood. Was able to see that I completed the run of the Young Animals. I believe that's a Doom Patrol volume Eaters. I think it's volume 6 was completed as of right now. Getting closer to completing volume 2. And I think the only one that I haven't completed would be volume 3. Volume 3 had issues towards the tail end that I didn't have, but it is what it is for right now. But before we get into the depths of talking and showing what came in and all this other stuff, we do have to do our due diligence here, letting you guys know that Stupid O'Clock still happens 1 hour into this show. If we go a second hour here, and that is followed up by Last Man Standing, then you get a little bit of a respite into Monday when you have Nevermind the Furthermore with Nicholas Tucker, Mondays at 10 a.m. Eastern. And then don't forget on Thursdays, we still got Comic Book Spectrum here, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here. And I believe it is that time once again for new comic book pickups for the week. And yes, it is a pre-recorded one because, like I stated before, I was at storage here, but we got some good pickups here starting right about now. Okay, we're going to have to pre-record this new comic book pickups for the week because we got a late start and these books would not be here by the time we do our live show here. So we're going to start it off with Witchblade number 59. And then we got some free comic book day stuff here. We got a couple of free comic book day books and this sticky. There we go. We got Gargoyles Desdemona or Demona from Free Comic Book Day. We got the Street Fighter Cross Rival Schools Free Comic Book Day. We got the Mega Man Free Comic Book Day from this year. And then we got some more missing Catwomen from the current volume. So we got 61, 62, 65, and then we got Gen 13, some other missing Gen 13. So issue 70, 75, 74, and 76. Then we got another copy of Storm 4 from not the current volume, but the one before that. And then we got X-Men Worlds Apart here, issue number 1, issue 2, 3, and 4. We got another Glory number 1 from Avatar Press. And we're getting close to finishing out the Doom Patrol Volume 2. We got issue number 35 now, issue 36, and the last issue, finally, 87. We got Spider-Man Mutant Agenda number 2. This was one that I was missing here. We got New Challengers number 1, so that's going to be another series that I might end up checking out here. I think this is going to be the new set of Challengers of the Unknown here. And then we got, I think this is either Volume 2 or Volume 3 of DC Superhero Girls. And now, I finally got my full run of the Young Animals version of Doom Patrol here, so I finally complete that run with issue number 8. Issue number 12 and the variant of issue number 12. We got Dazzler number 35. We're going to get closer and closer to that here. And here is a better copy of issue 35 from volume 2 here. I'm just going to keep all of them together. That's what I was trying to do here. Then we got issue, I believe this is issue 4 of The Girl from U.N.C.L.E. Teen's Confession number 74. Quick note about this book here. I bought this book mainly because of this main story that they have on the cover, but it's kind of a jip. It's kind of a jip because the way that they described the story here on the cover was not the way the story was, and it's what, 4 to 6 pages. I mean, I'll explain a little bit more a little bit later. If somebody asked me later on in the show, I could explain it a little bit more in detail here. And then last but not least, we got Star Wars 16, the Miles High comic variant, which was a freebie that I won over whatnot. And that is new comic book pickups for the week. So back to the studio. And there you have it. That was comic book pickups for the week here. Pretty much it was a small week, but it was still a great week as far as books that were picked up here. Right now, I'm just getting a couple of things ready here for CGC for somebody. I'm just trying to get things all ready to rock and roll and send out. But today's episode, like I said, is going to be more or less Ask Joe and talk about some of the things that had happened over this past week here. And one of the things that had happened over this past week was the simple fact that I was watching a lot of the YouTube videos here, and some of the people that I watch, I actually applaud them. It was like one of the things that was talked about. If you're a fan of Reggie Collects, he did a quick little video talking about what you need to be a serious collector, and pretty much he kept it simple. And how did he keep it simple? He pretty much, the message was, as long as you have the love for the medium of comics, you will always be a serious collector. That's pretty much what it boils back down to. They're up here, it's like, everybody else is saying, if you're not collecting this or you're not collecting that and blah, 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 blah. It's like, no. If your taste and knowledge and everything is growing as far as your love for this medium, then you are a serious collector. It doesn't matter if you don't like the exact same things other people like or anything to that magnitude. As long as you have a love for it, it is the key thing to becoming a serious collector of comics. You don't have to worry about, well, I don't like Batman. Doesn't matter. Do you like comics? Yeah. Are you willing to learn about new stuff? Like from like the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Bronze Age. If you could go as far as like the ages before that, even the Platinum Age and before that. If you're into the medium of comics, you're a serious collector, because you're always going to be discovering something that's brand new to you. And I agree with that message here. I agree wholeheartedly with that message here. And oh, there's Parallax. Parallax is here. Yep. There's Parallax and the gang. So we got Leo's, Beanie, Parallax, and Fran. I think all of them are together as of right now. And we also had Aaron. I already said Aaron was already in the house here. And yes, it is a Ask Joe episode here. So pretty much what I'm doing is just kind of preferencing the things that had came up over this past week here, dealing with this type of the type of stuff that is going on as of right now. See, that was one of the videos here. Another one of the videos that I already talked about, that one. The one that kind of took me aback here was the one that Swaggle did, talking about how tariffs was affecting BCW. It's like, of course, it's like we don't have manufacturers of bags and boards here in the United States. Why is that shocking? I mean, it is what it is. It's like, yep. And Mr. A Ron, yep, he's here. Yeah, they say both of Unison. They're creepy. No, they're kids. They're kids watching their favorite show. It's like if I had like a catchphrase, they would probably be saying that in unison too. Yeah, it's like I've been doing a big trade on Monday, probably 9+ long boxes of modern DC stuff, mostly not bagged and board. Yep. What's up, Leia? Yep. But that's the kind of thing. It's like, to me, that is not news. It's that stuff like that to me is not news. It's not comic book news that is worthy to be brought up in such a way where it's kind of like, oh, you have to pay attention to this here. And it just seems weird to me. It's like those who are in it more for the investment side of things, what catch their attention, as opposed to what is friendly for those who are just loving the media, just loving, the stuff that they're reading, loving the series and stuff that they want to have up and operational and reading on a consistent basis here. And as I'm getting around to completing certain titles, I'm beginning to learn that it's like, oh, as soon as I finish completing like sets and runs and stuff, it seems like somebody's introducing me to something new. And then now I'm up here, going out there to look for those type of things as a whole here. I am dropping all of this off on Monday. Hi. Okay. Yeah, the four of us are here watching. Yep. I kind of figured as much here. And in addition to that, one of the things that, like I said, I'm working with other people. We're building up a kind of like a, if I could say, not even a reserve, but we're building something better. We're building up something better, and some of my collection is moving into that realm of the more preserved type aspect of things here. Yeah, that is nice here. That is very nice here. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But the things that I buy now, I'm not really getting into like a lot of the modern stuff like I want to, because the stories and stuff is just not there for me anymore. I mean, it just seems like more of the modern books is now about the art, or who's drawing the cover at that point, or whatever artist is there. And I've been saying this a lot, and I want people to understand this. What's coming out from like the bigger publishers now seems kind of meh. And if you really want stories, you're going to move more towards the smaller press or independent people, the smaller publishers, because they're doing things that are more unique than what the average, Marvel, DC, Top Cow, and stuff like that. I'm not saying that the books are bad. Some of you would say that, but I'm not going to say that. But I know some of you will. But the stuff that really catches my attention now seems to be coming from the smaller publishers. And the reason being is that they're taking time to build story more so than anything else, instead of checking off boxes for, and I hate to say it, checking off boxes for demographics and seeing if certain things would hit certain demographics here. But that's just the way that it is. But nevertheless, here, it comes down to what appeals to you and what you like here. I'm not here to tell you what to like and everything, which kind of makes me go back to like all these, so-called top 10 videos and stuff that comes out as of right now, and how a lot of these investors are going out there. It's just like, yeah, these books might be popular now, but what about a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Is the demand still going to be the same? And it's just like, I just don't see it that way. I don't feel that anybody's collection should be built that way unless your goal is to make money and flip on that quickly. And if your goal is that, more power to you. Do what you must. I'm not going to discourage you from it, because there's money to be made that way. However, I'm not one for that. I'm looking at the bigger picture, the long term. And I'm not saying that I'm against speculation, and those who know me knows that I'm against modern spec. I will never spec anything based upon movies, TV shows, and stuff to that magnitude, because I already know that those audiences are not comic book audience, and comic book audience blends into all the others, but it doesn't have the same thing the other way around here. Yep, Tori's here. Yep, I know. Don't worry about being late. I know that you're here. Tori's here. Ooh, what key did you get today? What key did you get today? Tori does. Tori, it does open to the door of the Fortress of Solitude. Yep. Yep, that big old key that Superman has to fly in to put in to the Fortress of Solitude. That's kind of like that's a comic book joke here. Don't forget to thumbs up and hit the like button. Yes. And we're still on our quest for regaining our subscribers here, at least for this channel here. I'm not trying to get to monetary status where I'm getting monetized, but I would like to get back to where I was, somewhere about like 200 to 300 subscribers, and that will give me more motivation to do shorter videos here that I could just do quick and post up, or even maybe get the stuff off of where I do like Facebook Live or Instagram and put them over here. But that is what it is. Oh, she got first Poison Ivy, so she got a Batman 181. Oh, that's not bad. A 3.5 is not bad. Something that's moving towards the VG range, that's not bad. 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5.5. Those are not. Those are. I won't say that they're bad, but just like, no, those can be some greatly, if I could say, displayable books. I mean, I have some good, 4.5s, 4.5, 5.5s that display very well. Yeah, really, I got a really nice copy in 2010, and it was like a 7.0 for about $80, and then it got to my ex girl. I gave it to my ex. You and your exes. Unfortunately, they don't live in Texas. All your exes don't live in Texas. And with the pinup, oh, dang it. I would rather listen to you, Joe, than a lot of people on YouTube. And that's the thing, everybody that I've seen on YouTube that I watch, they're more on the investment side. They're like, we need to have the hobby fund itself. It's like, no, that's getting into the investment financials, and you're going to drive yourself ragged. And I don't get upset about, it's like, oh, if I buy a comic today, I'm not going to drive myself ragged trying to flip it within the next couple of weeks to be able to get more. if I buy a comic, it's pretty much going to be something that I'm investing in for the long term. Meaning that, like, for example, the books back here, all the books back here, I would say maybe 80% of them I have read already. I still got some that back there that I still have to read, but yeah, 80% of them I read. I'm constantly reading stuff. I'm constantly, keeping myself kind of like up to date on things. I still got Wonder Woman books that I still have to read from the Tom King run and Absolute that I still have to read, but I will read them. And to me, it's like to buy a book to be like, oh, it's a sought after thing. I want to have it, possibly get it graded. And then 2 or 3 months down the line, it's like, I don't want it anymore. No, that's just not me. That's just not how I am. That's just definitely not how I am. Yeah, I'm here to express my absolute hatred. Okay, like I said, this is a perfect outlet for you. Like I said, this is a completely interactive show, and plus this is an Ask Joe show, so that means that, like, you could ask me anything. You could you can start telling me about anything and everything, and we'll talk about it. That's the whole thing here. But I got my feelings about him as well. Nothing personally against him, but I see what he's doing, and that's get into the things about speculation that I don't like. But that's a whole nother thing that we're going to probably go into a little bit later on the show once you start talking about that. The most expensive book I have ever bought. I wouldn't say how much, but Motor City Comic Con with one day one was wow. It can't be that bad. It can't be that bad. And the reason I say it can't be that bad, because I know for a fact, but my most expensive book that I have ever bought in one sitting was back in the 90s. If I bought the equivalent of that book now, it would be on the equivalence of about $5,000. So I have to take a look at it that aspect. What I paid back then to what it is worth right about now is a completely different story here. And yeah, my prices, we know your prices books are going to be Fantastic Four #1. I know which one is the most priciest one that you bought here. I also got a Lois Lane, but I forgot which Lois Lane. I'm curious, which Lois Lane did you get here? And to speak up and come to think of it, I pretty much almost got the last 20 or so issues of the Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane. I'm still slowly building that collection up here, but I think I almost got like the last 20 or so issues where it's not broken. I think I'm only missing like 1 or 2 now. And let's see. And I know it's like I know you no longer what that Leia so handed over. Oh wow, wow. He's actually challenging you for that Fantastic Four #1. Good luck with that. B says roar. Fruitful. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be fruitful. It's fruitful if you have a long-term goal set for it. Now, the book that I was mentioning before, I spent close to, what was it? It was close to $1,300 for X-Men #1 from 1963. I ended up getting it graded. It came back 1.5 CGC Blue Label. 1,300 back. If I told you, it would be back in like 1995. That book now is close to like $4,000 or $5,000. So yeah, back then, $1,000, that was a lot of money, especially when you're in college. That's a lot of money to be putting down for one book. And I had buddies of mine actually was trying to help me for a Wonder Woman #1 during that time. And to think if I actually had the Wonder Woman 1, I might not be sitting here in front of the camera right about now, because I probably would be like, aha. But yeah. Yeah, first series. Yep. But it's the difference. It's the difference. And that's why I say people have to think long term, not short term. Because those books are hard to come by. You know, that's one of the reasons why I it's like me and whatnot writing about now is a dangerous thing. Because I'm beginning to know a lot more sellers there. And as I begin to know a lot more sellers, I'm beginning to see those who have the older stuff. And when I talk about the older stuff, I talk about the hard to find silver, golden, and platinum age stuff. They buy these books in such quantity that they could take a loss. They could take some of this loss and be like, okay, fine. You know, I might be able to take a loss for like this 8.0 of this book. That's because I got about 3 or 4 that at least, you know, a 9 or better that I can guarantee to get, you know, 4 to 5 figures. And I just like, it's like, I wish I had that type of money to kind of like invest in that, in that aspect of it, to let it sit, to do the thing that I'm trying to do in the bigger scheme of things here. But, you know, to each their own. It's like sometimes, you know, not everybody is a corporate raider or investor like that. You know, no, not everybody has the funds to do stuff like that. So you got to do what you can do here. Oh, the lowest book was so it was from the Superman's girlfriend. What you said you don't know what issue it is though. Do you know what was on the cover? Do you remember what's on the cover of it? Because most likely I could pretty much figure it out based upon what was on the cover of it. But it's like when I look in my bag, I would tell you, okay, not a problem, not a problem. No rush on it, Tori. No rush on it. But it, you know, okay, yeah, okay. You're going to DM me, okay? Yeah, yeah. I ended up getting a couple of those 81s. I think I have 2 81s now. The Super Jerk cover where Lois's face is and Superman's there, and she breaks the lifeline, the oxygen line, and it's like, if you won't marry me, then no one can have you, in the middle of space doing that. That's just so messed up. But yeah, that's the Super Jerk cover that she's talking about here. Now, going back to what I was saying before, if you watched new comic book pickups for the week, I did say that the all new Teen Confessions, or Teen Confessions number 74, I felt like I got gypped because the cover hyped up the one story that was in the book. And they did not talk about her struggles with finding a date. And that was the thing that threw me off, because it's like the cover is saying one thing, but when you get to the story that they was featuring on the cover, it was 6 pages of just, okay, we're going to gloss over what we did. You know, we're not even going to talk about what we talked about on the cover. It was more along the lines, it's like, oh, you know, she was like this tall girl in this ballerina class, you know, and it turns out that her ballerina teacher happens to move into her neighborhood, and she ended up meeting her son and everything, and they kind of hit it off towards the tail end and everything. But it was also was dealing with the fact that the teacher, the ballet teacher, who, you know, also understood, you know, what it was like to be a tall girl during high school. I was like, oh, you know, it's like there was nothing about how it was on the front, where it's like she was constantly getting rejected because she was too tall for a lot of the guys and everything. So it's like it was the deceptive advertising in that aspect here. But at least I read the story. It was decent, you know. Is romance books something in my repertoire of what I would normally read? No. But I will read those books just to be like, okay, this was a genre that was very, very very well liked back in the day. And it's good to know your history. However, I could see why some of these books did not work very well or missed its mark with the demographic that they was going with. Some of the stories were okay, but other stuff was just sappy. Just very, 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 very sappy. And I could get it. It's just like, to me, it just seems like, formulaic like romance type stuff, but it doesn't work all that well. And Parallax to say World's Finest 180 is one of my favorite covers of all time. I don't remember that one off the top of my head here. Oh yeah, there was a ton of modern slabs. Oh boy. I could just see it. I could just see it here. Along with ASM 32. Oh yeah, Medusa standing over Spidey and the hair is pinning him down. Yes. That is a lot of people's favorite Spider-Man cover. So you're not the only one with that one. Do you like the three characters, Deadman, Phantom Stranger, and the Spectre? If so, do you enjoy which do you enjoy the most and which one do you enjoy the least? I haven't read much Deadman, so I can't speak on him. Phantom Stranger and Spectre. Out of those two, I love the Spectre. Now, if I was writing DC, if I was given the aspect of writing DC books, I would have created another character. And in that way, you would have the equivalent of the whole thing about the Trinity with Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. I would have that Trinity done with Spectre, Phantom Stranger, and the character that I would have created. Because the concept of the higher power, which would have been their equivalent of whatever God would have been in that in the DC universe, and a direct opposite correlation to Darkseid. If you ever read enough about Darkseid and to know what he really looks like, then you will understand why, having a third character that works along with Phantom Stranger and the Spectre would work. Because Spectre would be the higher power's wrath. The Phantom Stranger would be the mercy and grace. And the character that I would have created would be the actual will. And the will pretty much, he has it rough. He has it rougher than the other two. But out of the three, I like the Spectre the most. I don't care too much for the Phantom Stranger, but I understand the purpose of the Phantom Stranger. Deadman, I have not read too much about, but he doesn't fit into the lore that has already been established between Phantom Stranger and Spectre. In a way, Deadman comes off like a low grade Phantom Spectre. But his purpose is a completely different aspect of, his purpose and his power and what he does is completely different. But that's just me here. And hopefully I think I answer your question. I like Spectre the most, but I haven't read enough Deadman to have an opinion. But I wouldn't say I dislike Phantom Stranger. It's just that I just don't know how to put Deadman in the same categories as Spectre and Phantom Stranger. I'm going to commit my first crime, Batman, and you're the victim. Okay. I think I remember that world. I think I remember that one here. I think I have that. Oh, she has it as a 7.5. That's nice. The question should have became Spectre. I don't know. Because the thing here is, Does the original question truly have empathy to balance out the Spectre? That's the thing that made Kerrigan so important to Spectre lore. It wasn't the fact that Spectre needs somebody to guide him. It was just the simple fact that Corrigan actually could help Spectre understand having empathy, to see things as they really were, as opposed to what was actually done. Yeah, I need to get a better copy graded. I have like a 5.5, but it's a really sharp one. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with a 5.0. There's, to me, there's nothing wrong with a 5.0 if it presents very well and all the pages and stuff is there. There's nothing wrong with it, especially with older books. And that's one of the things that always ticks me off about everything got to be a 9.8. It's like, yeah, go try to find a 9.8 of a book that came out in 1960, 1950, 1940, and 1930. Good luck with that. I'm all for you. And yeah, you can make a meme of that. You can make a meme of that. Yep, I don't care. Yeah, the juxtaposition of the question condemning everything. This, see, that's the thing. I don't think the question would condemn everything that the Spectre stands for. What he would condemn is the method that Spectre uses. He would definitely condemn the method that he uses a lot of times. But Question does believe in justice. But the thing about it is he's empathetic enough to understand that line of what is too far when it comes to justice. Is where I would have a problem with the original Question having. Because there's times that I even question, that I even look at him and be like, dude, you're going too far. You're going way too far. I think you have won it already, but no, you're up here trying to prove a point beyond proving a point. Yeah, I got my 5.5 for a 5.0 for $8. I was giving her extra points, extra 5 points on that for $8, and it's really, really sharp copy for 22. Yep. My first Spectre was Hal Sumi. No, you came later. You came so much later. You came so much later in life. But then again, did you read Kingdom Come? Because Kingdom and Kingdom Come also had the original partner with Spectre to help him, and that was the whole thing. Because reading Kingdom Come made me realize, I was like, oh, the Spectre is about to be unleashed by himself, which means that he's no longer tethered. Which means that, did he learn enough from Kerrigan to actually have empathy? Yep. How would you write a story about a creator embodiment of the will? Well, that's the thing. That's the thing within itself. Because when you think about God's will, which means that there is technically nothing stopping you for making anything to happen, and having the hubris to understand when and where your interference is too much, what is considered natural and what is considered unnatural, especially if you're a human being, comes into question. Do you understand the fabric and nature of the whole entire universe, timelines, dimensions, understanding things that could be done in parallel universes and everything? Because technically you will be able to control everything. You have the embodiment of the creator's will. You can just say, I just bring it into existence, and it exists. And you have to put it in such a way where, how does a human being really comprehend something like that? the closest that any human being, if you go based upon the King James Bible or something like that, was when he revealed to Job what was going on. And it was so far beyond his comprehension that he just had to accept that it was. I mean, that's how much faith that Job had. When God showed him the bigger picture, he could not comprehend every bit of it. He just had to accept that it was. That's going to always be kind of like the way that I will go about writing it. It's like, is it really something that really needs to be done, or does the natural flow of order of things would just take care of it? When do I truly intervene using the creator's power as opposed to being there just to naturally assist, or just to be a sympathetic ear, or to prevent? I mean, it's a lot of there's a lot of things that goes into writing those type of stories. It can be done, and that's what I'm thinking is the missing piece between Phantom Stranger and Spectre. Having somebody that could be like, okay, Spectre, that's enough. And Spectre can't do anything about it other than just listen. Or to have with Phantom Stranger, you did enough guidance. Let it be. Get into permissive will. Let it be. They will figure it out on their own, or they have lost favor. Having a character that would be able to do something like that, to kind of be that, if I could say it in this way, if you think about a scale, the character would be more or less a fulcrum. His job is not to always keep things in balance, but he could shift either side the way that it needs to be to keep things in order. So that would be the way I would answer that. Well, yes, exactly. Spectre would be the actual wrath of the higher power, as according to what DC stated. He is the literal embodiment of the higher power's wrath. So yeah, nothing technically could stop him. I mean, except for the one couple of times where Nabu tried to team up with Shazam to try to fight him. And those were some interesting issues nonetheless, but it is what it is. Yeah, he was the first Spectre I understood what it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was like Spectre to me is an interesting character. He's a very interesting character after they made the change where he had to have some type of a host or some type of a tethering conscious. Back in the golden age, oh my goodness, Spectre was just off the chain. Spectre was off the chain. You did not want to see the Spectre coming after you in the golden age. I still think about the image of the human meat grinder issue. The Spectre is no joke. He is definitely no joke in that aspect here. Hubert is it's like arthritis. Oh my goodness, Beatty and Lil. No, it's not like arthritis. Arthritis deals with joints and everything. Hubris deals with more about people's egos and behavior. So it would be sort of like the Beyonder. No. Beyonder is almost like an allegory for Christ. To be quite honest here, he is a Christ allegory in Marvel. My character would not be neither nor. Just like the higher power is technically made up of three aspects of what most religions consider as, or at least most European and I don't want to say American, I would say US religions feel God is made up of. My character would be that third aspect. Beyonder would be more of an allegory for Christ, which means that technically he would have been more Christ-like. Like he would actually try to fill in that role. It's like my character would not be like that. It's like his struggle would be like he has to relearn how to be human. Imagine a human being being endowed with that type of power and actually being trained to use it, but yet comes back to Earth and he's like he's just nothing makes sense to him anymore. Everything seems out of sort. He has the ability to change it any way he wants, but he has to learn how to control the power and still remain human. Because technically he's not the higher power, nor is he a god. He's no different than you and I. But if he needs to, if he needs to, he could invoke that power to make whatever is needed to happen. A little bit different than Beyonder, because Beyonder was more of like Christ in such a way. He just wanted to, see what the difference is good and evil and bring balance to whatever universe or whatever was cosmic that was going on. But no, it wouldn't be the same character. Oh, I haven't. It's like I haven't a moral perspective, then fuse it with the embodiment of with the embodiment of the creator's will. Oh, I got it now. Yep. I actually create a character that's kind of similar, but does not have that power. But the character understands where man is supposed to go. And he also struggles with being human after the experience. Because again, always comes back down to being able to relate to other people and being able to help other people reach that level too. Not fused, but tethered. Yeah. They're not. That's the reason why I didn't like one of the modern takes to Spectre, because they tried to tether him. I forgot the name of the character, but it was the first time that the Spectre was going to be tethered to an African American. And people back then in the late 90s, early 2000s, and this was after How. And they quickly got rid of that tether. And to me, that tether would have been very interesting to write, because the person that they were about to get ready to tether him to sees the world differently. So he would have had a different take on the DC universe and would have made for some interesting stories with the Spectre. But DC took the magic eraser. They said, "Hey, Mr. Clean, let's borrow that magic eraser here. We're gonna wipe this part of this Spectre's history out of existence here, and we're just going to do what we need to do. It's like if we need to retether them to somebody else, we will." But that's what it is. So your Beyonder themes reminds me of the Cloak and Dagger issue of Secret Wars 2. Yes, Secret Wars 2 is primarily him coming down after the fact of what happened, what he did in Secret Wars 1. Everybody who been through Secret Wars 1 wanted to live, literally kick his rear end to no end for what he did to them. So Secret Wars 2 made perfect sense to me. That's why I said it's like he's the allegory. He's the allegory, kind of like Christ in the Marvel universe for those stories that they did tell with him. The only other character that comes close to what we were talking about as far as Spectre would probably be Megas, but that's only looking at one part of Adam Warlock. But it is what it is, at this point. It was, it helped Cult to understand and realize that they cannot be judge, jury, and executioner. Yeah, they can't. You're absolutely right on that. But that's, my take on these types of things here, on these types of books and the characters, Beyonder would not be that. I don't think anybody there was anybody that's equivalent to a Spectre in the Marvel universe. There's a lot of characters equivalent to Phantom Spectre and Deadman, but there's not a lot of characters equivalent to Spectre. Now, the one character that if I brought one of my characters from my universe into the Marvel universe, the one that I told you about that would be trained by that understood where man was supposed to go. If that character came over to the Marvel universe, he would essentially become the next Living Tribunal. And I kind of already have the story in my head as far as how that happens and what happens in his life. And his origin story in the Marvel universe is not an easy one. And it would be like one of those ones where most of the Marvel universe would consider him a myth. But I would leave it at that here. No, I did not read All Out Avengers. That Avengers was not really a group that I read a whole bunch of in the 2000s. And by the time we got to All Out Avengers, I was nowhere near an Avengers book here. Well, that would be the equivalent. Yeah, that would be the equivalent of for Marvel. But the one above all, you have to understand, the one above all is one that sits at the very top of the multiverse. And there's only a few characters that actually knows the multiverse and understands the multiverse. And that's the reason why the character that from the Agency Studio universe, that if he ever was brought over to Marvel, he would be the myth that even the established heroes would say that he technically does not exist, but he does. He does, and he secretly holds a title up under the current Living Tribunal that most people dream of being. And all of this is because of a happenstance of something that he did that actually saved the Marvel universe, or at least 616 Earth. It's something that he did that saved 616 Earth from the Living Tribunal, who was trying 616. But I won't get into the details of what and how and why. But that's kind of like how he would come about, and the reason why he is technically considered a myth / legend that does not exist. But when he is seen by like the likes of like Cap or the Inhumans or the X-Men and stuff like that, they get kind of perplexed because of the simple fact that they know he wields power, but they don't know how he's going to respond. to what's going on around them. And saying all out Avengers Beyonder was very godlike. And that's the thing. That's the reason why I said he to me, the Beyonder is the allegory for Christ in the Marvel universe. So, when you think about Christ in most religions, he would be godlike. And it looks like we got Don Milo in the house, and everybody is greeting Don right about now. And then it's like I don't have a favorite Darkseid story, only because when I found out what he really was, everything clicked. Everything clicked. So when people tell me it's like, oh, did you see this with Darkseid? It's like, no, that's not Darkseid. That's his construct. And they look at me straight. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, that's his construct. You don't understand what Darkseid really is until you actually delve into his true origin. But it's kind of like it is what it is here. And Don is waving here. I like in Metal that when they asked who was driving the vehicle, and he answered Darkseid is. Yes. That's accurate of what Darkseid can really do. All the stories that we see with Darkseid as of right now, except for the handful that actually talks about what he really is, when they said Darkseid this really is. It's like hi, more people saying hi to Don. For those who don't know about Darkseid, and I'm going to say the difference between Darkseid and the construct here. Whenever you see Darkseid in the gravel form with the with the way that he is at Apocalypse, that's technically not him. That's one of his constructs. That's one of the reasons why pretty much people have disintegrated him, destroyed him, obliterated him, and this, that, and the other. And then next thing you know, here he is standing there unfazed and everything, because you destroyed one of the constructs of him and not him. And he could, rebuild another construct instantly. If you read Darkseid's true origin, Darkseid is technically the pure embodiment of what DC considers evil. Is he evil himself? That's left up to imagination. The only people who ever saw him for what he was, and for some reason, I just think I had a. Okay, there we go. I was like wondering what was going on with the video here. Those who actually seen him in his actual form is few and far between. And one of the few people that I know of that has actually seen him in his original form would have been Granny Goodness, only because she is considered a consort, meaning that they had relations. But he is, because nothing in that universe there's no good that can exist without evil. And he is the personification of evil in the DC universe. So technically he really doesn't have a body, but he can make whatever body he wants to be him. So that's the reason why it's like, Darkseid story and all the other stuff. And that's one of the reasons why I hate the fact that they downgraded the Omega beams that he shoots. Because the Omega beam, in the original aspect of what they can do, if he shoots the Omega beam at you, that's just the end of you. And when I say it's the end of you, because they don't stop. They will track you through the end of time. You could go from galaxy to galaxy, universe to universe, and they will still track you. That's one of the reasons why in a lot of these DC animations and everything, they don't get the modern stuff, don't get it right. And what was accurate, 100% accurate, surprisingly enough, is when he shot the Omega beams in Superman the animated series when Turpin got killed, where Darkseid killed Turpin. Superman is like, oh yeah, you're not going to hurt Turpin. I'm going to stand up there with my chest, bucked out. I'm going to deflect it. Really? Split, went around him and hit Turpin. That's the Omega beam from way back when. They would do that. Once he said, if he has eyesight of you, and he shoots him, it's a never-ending run, but eventually it will get to you, it will hit you, it will wipe you out of existence. The end. Let's see. I like Doomsday is Superman Doomsday Hunter Prey story. That was a pretty good one. That was a pretty good story. And he also used him well in I disagree with that. And the reason I had to stop there, I had to disagree with that because in that animated movie, Batman was able to avoid it. The beams actually stopped. And I'm up there like, I hate when writers just write things that is inaccurate. Batman was flipping and jumping and evading and all this other stuff and doing all this other stuff, and eventually, I don't know what it hit, but it eventually stopped. And I was like, this is a writer we say so type moment. Because Batman was dead. There was no way in the world. It was nowhere in the world that those Omega beams were going to stop. But I forgot what it actually hit, and they just allowed it to happen here. So did Darkseid is come from the Grant Morrison story in JLA? I think that Darkseid was before that. But I believe it was made more popular during the JLA run for Grant Morrison. But I believe that term was there way before then. My favorite with Darkseid is the Super Friends one. But even then, the Super Friends one where it's just like he always shot the Omega beam at Superman, and Superman was able to kind of resist it. That makes more sense. That like, okay, Superman is like, because of his physiology or something to that magnitude, he could deflect it. But it didn't stop it from hitting him, and that's the key thing here. I don't like. I didn't like that the Mega Beams now has different levels. It's kind of like lightsabers in Luke. It's like Luke has it on low, and it's like an aluminum bat. Wow. That would be messed up. But like I said, whenever he used the Omega Beam, that's normally means somebody is dead. Back in the day. Now I don't know. It's like they just changed things for no reason here. Yet the Flash could not outrun the Omega. Oh, definitely he can't. I mean, those things chased him down. I mean, literally was chasing him. And you have to think how fast Flash can actually go. And Flash can go. Don't get me wrong. Flash can go. But the problem is Flash don't have the endurance to do it 24/7. He will get tired. Then plus it's going to be awfully hard for him to constantly be focused on running when he has to like run, and hopefully pass by something that he could actually grab and eat at that speed before it disintegrates in his hands. to keep up his metabolism and everything, to keep his body functioning. Yeah. Yep. And you're right. In an Elseworld story, he did try to outrun it. He got him. Yep. That's why I say it was way before Grant Morrison. But Grant, for some reason, when Grant Morrison used it, it became popular. Darkseid isn't evil or good, nor young and old. Yep, Darkseid just is. And it's like he cuts Boba Fett's gun with the saber, but when it hits a dude, it hits him like a bat. Yeah. But then again, see now you're making me think about Ahsoka. You're making me think about Ahsoka now. Sabine gets gutted by a lightsaber, and then next thing you know, they get her to a hospital, and they stitch her back up, and now she's okay. That would be almost the same thing about baseball bat. It's like hit him is like, it seems like it's a baseball bat. It doesn't cut through the individual, but it hits him like a baseball bat. And then with Sabine gets gutted. They got a med pack to her to get on her to get them to allow her to survive long enough where they could get her to a hospital to stitch her up. I was like, yeah, normally people who get cut by a lightsaber is dead. They die. They die a horrible death, especially if they get gutted. But who's to say? People in plot armor. Yeah, do you know like how the beings, Hank Henshaw and Superman holding him, and Superman is like, good gravy, not like air. It's not like he even aimed at me and he barely withstand it. Yep. Mm-hmm. So did DC depower Darkseid during? Yes. The answer to that is astounding. Yes. Yes. Actually, it's a super easy, barely inconvenience. If you have estrogen, lightsabers do nothing. If you have estrogen, the lightsabers do nothing. Oh my goodness. I'm not going to say what that comment made me think about. Hashtag rest in peace, Qui-Gon. Oh boy, I'm not going to say what I was going to say here. Darkseid back in the day needed to be taken on by Superman, Captain Marvel, and the Spectre, the big three. Technically, Superman and Captain Marvel was a distraction until Spectre got there. And even Spectre by himself would have trouble with Darkseid. Only because he cannot destroy Darkseid. He could deal with him power for power, he could deal with him. But ultimately, Spectre could not destroy him. The only thing that he could do was to force Darkseid to a stalemate, to get him to know it's like, okay, this plan won't work. This plan won't work. I yield. Or I have to rethink this. I will back off. But Superman and Captain Marvel by themselves, they can't beat Darkseid. They always have to have Spectre. Yeah, they really messed up Star Wars. Qui-Gon Jinn dead. See, she gonna make me say it. Qui-Gon Jinn dead. Sabine, oh, that was nothing but a hysterectomy. Straight gutted. Straight gutted. It's like, oh, Ned Pack, I'm okay. I'm okay. That was nothing more than a hysterectomy. I'm good. Yeah, save that horrible character, Reva. It's like she got gutted and was fine. Yep. Didn't even have to. Yep, that's the other thing. She didn't even get to go to the hospital. Medpack, I'm good. Medpack, I'm good. Even the anti-monitor cannot destroy Darkseid. However, Darkseid can destroy the anti-monitor. That's the problem with that. That's the problem. That anti-monitor would not be the same as having Spectre. Spectre technically cannot be destroyed, but Darkseid definitely cannot be. Spectre, you could actually banish him. Darkseid, you can't. It's weird. It's weird in that aspect when you go back to original powers of characters. Everyone that just is in their pants over Darkseid and Justice League shitty cut. I mean, Snyder cut. They're dumb. He does nothing. No, he sits there, looks at them. It's like, oh, this is interesting. Be gone. Be gone. It's like, be gone. Boom tube. Be gone. It's like, oh, he's like sitting there. It's like, oh, they open a boom tube. Okay, fine. Boom tube him back. Be gone. Be in. That was nothing. Yeah, with your DC character, will be able to destroy Darkseid. No. The only way, again, the higher power in DC probably would not allow it to happen. My character probably would be able to know how to do it, but I don't think the higher power will allow him to do it. Because he is a stabilizing force in that universe. Well, I shouldn't say stabilizing. He is a grounding force in that universe. There couldn't be a universe without Darkseid. And I think he would actually have the understanding of that. Only a few characters in the DC universe would know that, such as Spectre. Spectre would know that. My character will probably know that as well, because again, he would have the embodiment of the higher power's will. He would know. He would probably know the reason why he couldn't just outright destroy Darkseid. Could he do it? Probably. But he also would know the consequences of doing it too. Yeah, he just stands there. Ergo, just cut him out. Just cut him out of the theatrical. Which again, it just like the whole thing is was just the whole surprise. It's like, oh, here comes the Armada. Darkseid sitting there. It's like, oh, we're outside of Earth. It looks nice. Boom 2 opens up. Oh, here comes all these people trying to stop me. Close the Boom 2 and send them back. You know, long enough to look at the camera and say, hi, I'm coming soon, but not now. But not now. But then again, it's not the way that I would have the cinematic universe introduce, you know, the fourth world. There's a lot more that has to be stated for Darkseid, Roland Cantos, Granny Goodness, all those characters, and then you have to get into like Miracle, Barda, the Forever People, the Furies, and all these characters. There's so many characters that they had to deal with. Justice League was not the movie to do it in. They were just rushing things and putting Easter eggs into things without explaining anything, just to hope that comic book fanboys would, like you said, would jizz just because it was on screen. But that's just me. That's just me, understanding how things are and why things are the way that they are and stuff to that magnitude here. But go ahead, keep up with the questions. I'm kind of enjoying myself here, with some of the questioning and the lines of questionings and everything here about how I would write certain things or the way I see certain things in Marvel and DC. I mean, it's like certain characters. It seems like I have more of a penchant to want to write more characters in DC than Marvel for some reason. Not because Marvel lacks something. It's just that the characters that I would write in Marvel would not fit into 616 universe all that well. They would be everyday people, but at the same time, they just don't mesh very well. Where it's like a character that I create is like meet up with the Hulk. It's like, okay, fine. You're supposed to be the strongest there is, strongest there was, stronger there ever be. I'm going to allow you to do that. I'm going to allow you to still be that, but just don't really get in my way, type deal. Yeah, he just stands there. Yeah, it's like I was late. It's like I was laid up. It's like I was laid up longer than a bee for the big age. But that's what you made me think about when you said the whole thing that it doesn't, getting gutted by a lightsaber does not affect women the same way that they do men. It's like, yeah, for men it kills them. For women, it's just a hysterectomy. It's like, man, Pat, go to the hospital. You're good to go. I was like, she's supposed to be dead. It was like Darth Maul got sliced. Yeah, he got sliced, not gutted. And when I say gutted, I mean literally Sabine Wren got shanked several times. Several times, like I'm like, she's dead. But yet it's like med pack, somebody found her, got to her hospital, she's okay. I think the only way to get rid of Darkseid if God actually wills him out of existence. Yeah. If the higher power choose that is the method. And I believe Naboo kind of hinted at that. And I forgot which story that he kind of hinted at it in sarcasm. It's like, yeah, the only way to kill him is like somebody has to will him out of existence. Just like, the whole thing with the Green Lantern Corps. People don't realize the whole reason why the Green Lantern Corps is in existence. It's not to truly protect the galaxy like they say that there is. It took all these different galaxies, members of all these different galaxies, to be able to have at least a lantern in such a way where they could protect the end of time. That's what they're truly guarding. They're truly guarding the end of time, or what the higher power sees as the end of time, the point of all universe where everything ends. That's what Green Lantern really is protecting. The reason why the Guardians actually exist, because they know where that singular point in all universe lies at. Is it really? Is it really? I beg to differ. I believe Marvel is more fantastical than DC. What I feel is more true about DC is that DC allows characters to explore their powers a lot more. DC characters, to me, in a lot of aspects, are very overpowered. Very overpowered. Not as fantastical, but they just overpowered because, again, there's no true restraints being there. Marvel has restraints, but the adventures and stuff that they go on are more fantastical than anything else because of those restraints. Could I add anything to X-Men? Yeah, I could add a couple of things to X-Men, but then again, that would mean that I have to push the reset button and bring everything back to what Morrison did with Secondary Mutations and have people to understand that every generation that comes after is technically becoming mutated because there's no such thing as a pure strain anymore. So that means as people progress in years and each generation after comes, that the likelihood of the X factor gene kicking off in future generations, it goes up higher as other established mutants is experiencing their secondary, their tertiary, the fourth mutation. By the time you get to that fourth mutation, you can see that the lineage of what is considered pure human and pure mutant gets mixed and muddied. But that's, like I said, that's going back to the point, back to the point where what Grant Morrison was trying to do will work out here. The other thing, they tried to do it and they messed it up, is what if Xavier Dream happens? Meaning that the X-Men and the rest of the Marvel Universe come together and be merged and becomes one universe. Because people don't realize, before, I want to say sometime around 2006, 2007, all the X-Men stories and all the other Marvel superhero stories were never truly intertwined. They knew of one another, but they really did not exist really truly on the same timeline. The Captain Americas and stuff and the Avengers and stuff that the X-Men knew were not the same Avengers and Hulk and all the other superheroes that they knew. The X-Men that, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and everything over here, they knew of the X-Men, but they're not the same X-Men that was being written up in stories. They just knew of one another. They knew of some of the lore, but they never really intermingled. When we got to like the late 2000s and they were, when we got new Avengers and you see X-Men characters popping up in regular Marvel teams, I'm up here, it's like, why haven't they written, the whole thing about Xavier's dream being left out? That was the golden age to me of mutant kind, of Xavier's dream being in existence, that humans and mutants are now officially together. They are seen as equals and not as enemies. And then we get into the whole aspect of Civil War. And I was like, we're in the golden age of X-Men hierarchy of storytelling about Xavier's dream being really realized, but nobody's really saying that. And like I said, it's like X-Men, you're going to have to hit that reset button in some form or some fashion to move the goalpost back to something that was done in the past. Could it be done now? I don't think so. I don't think this modern generation of reader would know about a lot of stuff in the past, and it would force people to go back and reread books. I believe a lot of people who collect X-Men now who did not grow up with it, that's trying to get all the older X-Men, are not reading it. They just getting it for investment purposes. So a lot of the stories that could be told to move that goalpost forward without bringing them back to being a separate entity in the Marvel universe is too far gone. It's too far gone. There's a lot of stuff that could be told here. I mean, I'm glad that they've been telling stories about, X-Men going to Mars and all the more, like Tori said, the fantastical stuff that they're doing over there at X-Men. But to me, they're kind of doing it the wrong way. It's kind of more like ham-fisted, more so than anything, because now they're forcing them to separate back out of the regular continuity of the Marvel universe. I mean, to me, it was kind of neat for Marvel New York to kind of recognize. It's like when they see Wolverine staying next to Daredevil, they're like, oh, it's Wolverine and Daredevil, as opposed to it's Daredevil and some guy that I don't know of, or it's Wolverine and some other guy that I don't know of. It was nice that Xavier's dream could be lived out a little bit in that time frame, but nobody really stating that Xavier's dream had happened. And I think that was one of the biggest mistakes ever in writing during that time. During the heyday where everybody was talking about business not doing any wrong, I really felt that was a ball that was dropped. They could have said that Xavier's dream is being lived out right now, that people now are finally accepting mutants. And that was kind of like one of the things that was turning me off with some of the more modern stuff dealing with Kamala Khan, when they made Kamala Khan a mutant. And they did the whole where it's like Miss Marvel Mutant Menace and Miss Marvel New Mutant and Miss Marvel Mutant Menace, those two short miniseries. And when they went back to the whole thing about anti-mutant and nobody trusts mutants and all this other stuff, it's like, why are you hinder the reset button that way? Why are you going back and saying don't trust the mutant and all this other stuff? Why are you making the X-Men pull away from the regular Marvel continuity again? It's almost like nobody wants to go back and really read canon anymore. So that's kind of like my take on that question here. Aaron, get writers and lay off of the lefty activists. Yeah, my Sabine was a good nurse. My Sabine was a good nurse when I was laid up. Yep. Fennec got cyborg by Boba Fett because of estrogen. So if it had been doing, he would have died because his arm. Yeah, because of his arm. Because again, Luke almost died because his hand got cut off. If you remember, his hand did get cut off and everything, and I forgot what he did to cauterize it in Cloud City. But yeah, it's something about estrogen. It's something about estrogen, and it just does that here. Is Rey a Skywalker? That's a very good question. That's an extremely good question. I feel that that's going to be like one of those Tootsie Roll questions. The world may never know. No, she's a goddamn Palpatine. Yeah, I got my ticket for Tuesday the 27th at 1:30. Oh, you about to go see live action Lilo and Stitch. I don't know what to think about it here. As much as they seem like they got stitched together, I just don't know if the actors could pull it off. That movie does not give me the feels like the cartoon series did. It just doesn't seem plausible. Just like how live action Little Mermaid. It's just like, yeah, it's close, but not the same. Yeah, I was going with no bean, no Lils, no friend. He's like, this is. I was like, I am going to watch this movie without any type of interference of people that will make me not like this movie if they feel a certain way. Yeah, all the BS by putting Miss Marvel into the classic points of the X-Men one-shot stories, such as like Giant Size X-Men 1. It's those 4-issue miniseries. In a way, it kind of pissed me off, but at the same time, it's like you're rewriting the character's history again. Just like with America Chavez. America had her own series, and then they did a 6-issue miniseries called America Chavez Made in the USA. America Chavez Made in the USA rewrote her origin. Excellent. They did a better job than what her original title did. Her original title is confusing as far as what she was. Made in America simplified it a lot, and it made sense. It made sense as far as what was going on here. It's like, is there any hope of the new upending coming for a Marvel DC crossover? Again, for a Marvel DC crossover, it's always going to be fan based. It's like they always going to do something that's going to be kind of like fan based. It's not going to be anything that's canon based. Yeah, you could get writers to write something that is canon based and that is good for a Marvel DC crossover, but Marvel and DC is not going to spend the money for something like that. They go ahead and do something that will get fans hyped up, ready to spend their money on. And it's going to be subpar. It's going to be subpar compared to what could be done. All because they're looking at the money. They're not looking at canon and story. Yeah, that's why I said he cauterized it. He did cauterize it, but if he did it, he would have died. If he didn't cauterize it, he would have died because his hand got cut off. He was male and his hand got cut off. He would have died. Thus, the letter K really comes before the letter L. Because they always seem like the miles. Yeah. I give you the ending. Batman figures out everything because of prep time. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You want to know something? You want to know something? He made me think about the animated series and the one time that he fought Clock King. And it's like Batman has all the prep time in the world. And Clock King would have won if he didn't do one thing. And it's like, give it up, Batman. I have all this down to a science. Oh, really? It's like, and they start fighting. It's like, see, it's like I do this, you going to do that. It takes you so many seconds to do this, and it's like I know I can dodge that and do this and do that. And as he fighting Batman, he's telling him, it's like, you're about to do this, you're about to do that, you're about to do that. It takes so many seconds to do this. I could dodge that easily. I'm going to do this and do this and do this. And every time he does it, he's well away on Batman. until the point where it's like, okay, fine, you might as well give up. It's no way. It's like I backed you up into a corner where you have to be able to jump over this, jump backwards over this, and do this, and this. By that time, I could either take the swipe to kill you, or I could go over here and get away, or I could do X, Y, and Z. And Batman was like, oh, but you forgot something. It's like, what did I forget? I could do this move in this amount of time and hit you, knock you back, and win the fight. What? Pow! It's like, there's no power prep time that actually you would know how fast you could throw a punch or do an actual move to its exact timing to stop a character like Clock King. I'm sorry, that's just Batman. That's just Batman. Don't mind me. I'm just organizing. No, that's not a problem here. Oh, we got heroes here. The Heroes for Comics Club. Hey, how's it going? Hopefully you're enjoying the conversation and everything. Because like I said, we're just up here. This is an Ask Joe episode here. We're just having fun. People asking me everything and anything and everything. We're talking about comics, how I would write something, how I would not write something, my opinions about different characters and all this other stuff here. I mean, it was fun here. I mean, it's fun. We were talking about how in Star Wars sometimes the lightsaber give the women hysterectomies but won't kill them. But it is what it is. And yep, there he is. There's Matthew. But we're having fun. We're just having a whole bunch of fun and everything here. But yeah, the whole thing about prep time, it's like, yeah, you could prep for everything, but the thing about Batman is that anything that he has to face for the very first time without seeing it, knowing it, and truly having a complete understanding of it, he gets messed up by. That's one of the reasons why with a lot of his rogues gallery, after the first encounter, it makes him awfully hard. It makes him awfully hard for the enemy to beat him. The first time around, he would get messed up. He would get messed up easily. And then and there's just certain characters that I'm just up here. It's like Batman is just winning just only because of it's Batman. But it is what it is here. So they would make Martian Manhunter invulnerable. Yes, that's canon. That's canon. And it's not just because he's vulnerable to fire. It's more along the lines of the PTSD from why fire does that to him. It's not like he's vulnerable to it. He has a PSTD from it. It's post-traumatic because you have to understand how the white Martian race on his planet destroyed the green Martians through fire. So when he sees it, it's not the fact that I'm vulnerable to it. It's like, no, it's PSTD. It's like it reminds him of the destruction of what he faced. It's just more along the lines like how would any type of soldier who's been on a battlefield, if he hears a row of firecrackers go off, the first thing that he might do is hit the ground and think that he's back on the battlefield. Because it's not something that he's scared of the firecrackers. It's just the sound of that happening instantly puts him in that traumatic state where he relives what caused it. So, yes, I wouldn't say make him vulnerable to it, but yeah, I would. It's canon. He has to have some type of fear of it. Not he won't be invulnerable to it, but he will have to have that PSTD. True. In the Dark Knight Returns, he barely survives the mutant leader, in the second time Batman destroys him. Yeah, it just it's just like bat. It's like Bruce. Bruce is not as swift of a learner. He's not a he's not what I would consider a battlefield tactician, meaning that meaning that he does not go he does not understand how to attack somebody the first time around considering the circumstances, unless he sees things familiar to him or had experienced it before. He would not necessarily know exactly what to do in certain cases. But if he has prior knowledge, they just write him where he just can't be beat. I just don't understand that. Yeah, I mean, like that run pretty much puts it in a nutshell. Where it's like it's not the fire that he's vulnerable to. He technically he could walk through it. You know, he could walk through it. He could phase through it. He has all these different powers that he could use to deal with fire. It's the PSTD that keeps him from being rational. And that part has to be a part of his character. He has to deal with his loss. He has to deal with the simple fact that the only white Martians that he ever really cared for was things like his cousin Magan. But you know, that's going back to understanding John Jones' history. That part should always stay. The fact that he could deal with fire should remain. That PSTD should never go. It should make him very vulnerable to it, but it'll make him eventually he would get to the point where he still hesitates, but he doesn't. It wouldn't stop him from reacting anymore. So it's canon. It's like he can. Eventually he can. Eventually he can. It's no different than any soldier that goes through PTSD, anything PTSD on the battlefield, and then after he comes back stateside, anything that reminds him of that, it will make him hesitate because of the simple fact that it instantly puts him back on that battlefield and not make him think that I'm not in that surrounding. He will have to cope with his mind. His mind has to have some type of coping mechanism to bring him back to the here and now as far as reality is concerned. The same thing with him with fire. It's not necessarily a fear, it's a PTSD. It's what reminds him of the dangers and everything that came from it, that he has to get around it. Right. It's not really a fear. It's more like coping with the PSTD. I wouldn't consider PTSD fear. Being afraid is one thing than having something that is traumatic. It's really getting over the association more so than anything. Yeah, Martian Manhunter fear is kind of like Storm hate. No. Well, take that back. I'm going to take that back. Matt, you might have something there. And the reason I'm taking that back is because Storm's claustrophobia is also tied to a PSTD. Same thing with Martian Manhunter. He technically doesn't fear it. It's the situation that led to it. It's like his people were destroyed by fire. So it's a PTSD. Does he fear it? No, he has the ability to deal with it. His people had ability to deal with it, but they was in the middle of a war. And one of the things that he remembered from that war was the fire of how everything was being burnt down after his people were killed. So the association of fire and his people being killed, that association has to be separated for him to be able to deal with the fire itself. He doesn't fear the fire. He fears the loss that is associated with it. The same thing with the claustrophobia. Storm doesn't hate close spaces. What she fears is the loss that came from it. She lost her parents in a cave-in. She was literally pinned down. She has been in several situations where she cannot function in such a way if she feels closed in. It's not the fact that she's closed in that's bothering her, it's the association of loss at that time. And now you guys got me thinking all about all the abnormal psychology that I took while I was in college. Because it's not just understanding the psyche at that time, it's understanding the root cause of why that association happens. Yeah, so Grant Morrison did write that the White Martian incorrectly when Batman beat them with fire. Yeah. Because even Magan to a certain degree associates fire, the actual physical manifestation to fire, to war. She didn't really suffer as much loss, but it does have a PSTD to her as far as what actually happened on Mars. And that's the reason why, fire has always been a plot device for the Martians in DC continuity. The fire itself doesn't really bother them. They have means and abilities to deal with it. It's just the association one way or the other. Everything is beaten by fire except for Superman. And I told people this several times. Technically, I could beat Superman with a filter. And it's like, no, you can't. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And it's like all this time you have Katniss and all these different organizations on Earth. It's like on Earth up here. It's like we need something to defeat Superman if he goes rogue. Okay, where's your most brilliant scientist? Because everybody's up here thinking all this brutal, blunt force type stuff. Only thing you need is a filter. Because why? Superman is overly trusting. He kind of gave you, the ins and out of his physiology. Have you guys not been paying attention? I mean, I believe we have a good command over the spectrum, especially the electromagnetic spectrum. Yeah, it's an easy thing to do to beat Superman. Very easy. Oh, look at me. I'm Joe. I could beat Superman. No, this has nothing to do with prep time. This has nothing to do with prep time. Everybody knows about Superman's one of Superman's main problems with certain universes. Or certain universes with a particular type of sun. Earth does not have anything to worry about, except they're too stupid. They're too stupid, and they probably don't want to do it, and they probably won't have the investors to really do exactly what I would tell them. No, it's not going to be instant. It's not instant, but it's doable. It's very doable. I'm going to say this again. The fastest way for Earthlings to beat Superman is simply start having things like your windows and stuff to start filtering out the electromagnetic spectrum for yellow. So when Superman comes inside a building, it has the same effect. If the sun is shining, it has the same effect of it shining through with a red sun. As long as he stays inside of any type of building for any period of time, it's like the government can mandate this easily. So he goes to work as Clark Kent at the Daily Planet. All the windows and stuff now is filtering out everything out of the electromagnetic spectrum other than red. So that means only red level of sunlight is coming inside of the building. He becomes like a normal human being. I don't think a lot of his quote unquote fighting ability can deal with people mobbing him to death. Sorry. It is what it is. I don't think he can stop, bullets will bounce off of him at that point. Lasers would cut through him at that point. It's not about prep time. It's just something as simple as he literally gave you everything on a silver platter. And DC Earth it's just that stupid. Oh, we're going to come up with this robotic weapon. It's like, didn't he just say that, the sun powers him and he could become supercharged by the yellow sun because his physiology is picking up on the yellow wavelength of the sun? What if we alter that? I don't know, but maybe I'm a writer of a different magnitude. Maybe my IQ skills are just really way up here, or it's just something that it diminishes Superman too much that people don't want to go with. It will make for some great Superman stories. It will make for some very great Superman stories. Because what happens if the technology got to the point where the Earth, the people on Earth can truly filter out the yellow aspect of the sun? Not just in buildings, not just in general, but they come up with some type of device to do it all over the planet at any given time. There would be no contingency plan. You wouldn't need kryptonite at that point. But that's standard science, because why? DC hates super science. We hate super science. We want to only keep super science to characters like Mr. Terrific and a handful of scientists such as the Atom, blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, whatever. It's like, that's one of the reasons why Challengers does not exist in the DC universe anymore, because they don't know how to truly deal with super science and understanding aspect of science the way that they need to. But it is what it is. Yeah, the only time they did it right was Final Night. Yeah, he depowers over the course of days and days and days and days as he uses powers. Yeah. Again, they have wrote several stories where Superman goes to other universes where there's a red sun or a blue sun and all this other stuff, and it has different effects on him the longer he stays there. But yet, oh, we need a contingency plan. We need to come up with a specialized nuclear type titanium bomb to deal with Superman. It's like, no, you don't. It's like he told you pretty much everything about him, and nobody could come up with that. Really? Okay. It's one of the reasons why nobody buys Superman anymore. Superman is always going to be more about his powers and not about grounding in reality to deal with them. But that's just me. Did Wolverine remain in character during Civil War? That's a good question. It's been a long time since I read Civil War. And he was on, I believe he was on Cap's side during Civil War. So he was against the whole thing with registration. And again, another missed opportunity. Since the X-Men were there, they lived through Days of Futures Past. So now that would explain why Days of Futures Past was never brought up during Civil War I. Because again, anybody that was an X-Men would have been against registration because they've been there, done that, saw it. They wouldn't want to go through that again. But for them to not even bring up Days of Futures Past or anything dealing with mutant registration and all the other stuff that was canon in X-Men during that time was a missed opportunity. They dropped the ball on it. So you would notice Clark Kent without the glasses on. Yeah, they have actually been stories. I actually owned the comic book where Lex Luthor, I forgot the name of the scientist here, gave her a supercomputer to find out who is Clark Kent. And the computer actually told them, no, actually find out the identity of Superman. And the computer told him that Clark Kent is Superman. And Lex Luthor did not believe the computer at all. Showed all this data that 100%. But again, that's just the writing of Superman. It's like, I don't make this stuff up. They really write Superman that poorly. There have been a few issues where it's like people just didn't believe that Clark Kent was Superman. That's the thing. That's the thing, because Mr. Terrific, when I think about him in the golden age compared to what he is now, are two different characters altogether. They share the same mantle. The mantle was passed down to them because they both believe in fair play and all the other stuff and everything. But they were really two separate characters. One was more of, if I could say it, was back in the golden age, he was more of a role model than anything else here. You know, he was a vigilante role model. The Mr. Terrific that we got now is, if I could say pretty much, is a super scientist that works with the Justice League. They're really not the same character. How they operate are completely different. Heck, the things that they dealt with are completely different. So I really wouldn't know how to answer stories that I could write with Mr. Terrific outside of what they've been writing here with the Terrifics comic series. That pretty much, you know, he could technically lead a ragtag team of other superheroes that would include people like Plastic Man and stuff to that magnitude. Because, well, actually, I'll go even further. Let Mr. Terrific lead the Outsiders for a change instead of Batman. You know, that would be a good team to allow Mr. Terrific to become more interesting. Because, again, you know, Mr. Terrific in the Justice League is a tactician. So, you know, he can fill out a role such as like a Batman. like how Batman is a tactician. He could fill that role as well. He has done it with the Terrifics for what? How many issues for the Terrifics? Give me a second. Just letting you guys know here, we're at the 11 o'clock hour here. So I'm just up here thinking to myself, it's almost getting close to that time to end things here, but I'm going to find out how many issues is the Terrifics, because he's not a boring character. He's definitely not a boring character. It's just more along the lines 27 issues. So there've been 27 issues of the Terrifics where he was the leader of a team here. So pretty much I would be like ready to be ready to deal, to kind of write him in the same aspect, but give him a better team. It's like, to me, people like him and even Red Tornado had his own team, the One Star Squadron. There's certain characters in the DC universe that it's not being utilized as much as they could. And they do fill in similar roles to some of the more popular ones. It's just, they just don't do it. The Terrifics were interesting to me, but it seems like DC ran out of ideas, or not to not to take the ideas serious, where they could make them like a Fantastic Four spoof. They weren't like a Fantastic Four. They weren't like a Fantastic Four to me, but they had a similar dynamic when it comes to investigating things of super science nature. It works. If anything, the Terrifics to me was a better version of Challengers of the Unknown, I should say a modern version of Challengers of the Unknown, except with superpowers. These people have superpowers. Challengers don't. And that what made Challengers so interesting. But even with Challengers, it was kind of like watch, rinse, and repeat each and every month for the original Challengers. They tried to bring them back, and it was like, that run of Challengers was pretty much like, team up with the superhero of the week. And then they did new Challengers, and that just really didn't go anywhere. But teams like the Terrifics is where they should have gone with Challengers. They should have just allowed the mantle of the Challengers, be superhuman to a certain degree. But that's just my take on it. And on that note, we're at over the 2-hour mark here. I'm going to bid you guys adieu here. It was fun. This was fun. We need to do this more often here, dealing with, an Ask Joe episode here. I think people had a lot of fun, expressing their ideas, sharing their thoughts and everything to that magnitude here. And Aaron was saying, yeah, they were spoofing on Marvel with with the others released too, like the Sideways, the Runaway Sideways, and other things. It's like characters like Rampage. They couldn't remember, but those are the things that made Marvel. Just like how right now I like Fire and Ice. I love the series of Fire and Ice, Welcome to Smallville, because again, they messed up in the Justice League. Superman wanted to keep a close eye on them, so he brought them to Smallville, where his mom could keep an eye on them. He could keep closer tabs on them. It's not like they're bad superheroes. It's just that they do a lot of things and be around a lot of people that get them in a lot of trouble. And for all it's worth, it was heck in a handbasket for those 6 issues. That was another 6-issue miniseries. Again, another thing that I just don't like about DC. They don't believe in ongoing stories anymore. 6-issue miniseries. We're going to tell this story arc in 6 issues. Okay, cool. When are we going to get the full series? No, you're not going to get another full series. Now they started another Fire and Ice series. And it's probably going to be run another 6 issues. And it's just story arc by story arc. And It just doesn't work for me as a whole here. But yeah, I do agree. I do kind of agree with your take on it. And they did do a lot of spoofing of a lot of stuff that they're typically Marvel staples. It's almost like they were taking pot shots at Marvel, but it was what it was. So I'm going to bid you guys adieu here. It was fun. It still is fun. And I like how you guys interact. I like how you bring new ideas. You ask those questions and everything. And as I try to keep it, there is no right answers. I'm not going to say what I'm saying is correct. I'm nowhere near correct. It's just that's what I would do, and that's how I would think, and that's how I see things here. And then I would sit here and listen to you and say, like, you know what, you got a point there. You got a point that I might be, missing out of this here. And then Aaron saying, yeah, the Terrifics could have been a hit. I still feel that it still is. It's just that you have to get the right people talking about that series again. And I still feel that a lot of people are just not. I still feel that not a lot of people are really reading these books, because when you go back and revisit a lot of these titles, there is a lot of good that's there. And I think Terrifics is one of them. I still feel Birds of Prey is one of them, because there's a lot of good stories that was told in Birds of Prey, but Birds of Prey doesn't get highlighted anymore. Especially Volume 1. Volume 1 had a lot of good series, it got a lot of good stories, but it fell because of the simple fact that it's not what most people consider A-list material, because people like Black Canary, Batgirl, or I should say Oracle, Black Canary, Oracle, Huntress, and those type of characters are not as popular as like a Harley Quinn and stuff to that magnitude back then. It is what it is. But when you go back and reread the stuff, those stories hold a lot of meat and sticks with you. But it just needs the right people to go back and discover those stories, to be like, hey, that gives me inspiration to write something better and to move things further. Just like I love this new Birds of Prey series. When they started adding people towards the tail end of the Volume 1, and when they started adding people like Knockout and Big Barda and a lot of the other women of DC, it made sense. This was essentially Marvel's A-Force before they even came up with the concept. But because it didn't have a lot of the A-listers that a lot of people love, eventually the series fell apart. Not just in one volume. We're now on like Volume 5 now with Birds of Prey. So it went through 5 volumes. So it has legs. Just like the Terrifics has legs. It's just going to take the right creative team to get a Volume 2 up and going for it. So, as I was saying, I enjoy everybody that commented here. So we're going to say good night to Aaron. Good night to Parallax and the crew that's over there. Good night to Tori. Good night to Matthew of Heroes for Comics here. Good night to those who didn't check in that I see out there that are watching here. And I hope that you enjoy everything. I hope that you feel that some of the things that were expressed here, especially by the chat, mimics what you kind of feel and that you was heard. Because like I said, this is an interactive show. I'm not going to call myself Phineas J. Whoopi, the man with all the answers. I'm not him. However, I am going to give you guys at least a sounding board where things could be talked about in such a way where your voice is heard. It's not going to get minimized. And it's going to be talked about in a proper aspect in the most positive way possible here. So, as I always say, with life growing to be well, and we're out of here for another week. I see you guys next Saturday here on From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. And if you like, these Ask Joe episodes, put it in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe. Put it in the comments that's like, we need more of this. I don't have a problem doing more shows like this at all. Not at all. So Until next week, we're out. Bye.